In this lesson, we will learn how to find the siblings of an element. We will understand this according to jQuery traversing. With that, we will also see some built-in methods provided by jQuery to find the siblings. Let's start. Okay, so first let us understand what is a sibling. Let's say we are taking the same figure. The div was having UL and OL as childs. UL was further having LI as childs, 2LI. Left LI was having two span elements. So siblings are the following: Li and Li. Also both the span are siblings because they have the same parent. Here let's say we were having two childs, I told you. So UL and OL are siblings because they have the same parent div. Okay. Sibling can be understood by the term sideways, obviously side. UL and OL, Li and Li, and span. So both these span elements are siblings. Now let us see the built-in methods. The following methods are provided for traversing to find the siblings. So under the DOM tree, the sibling concept suggests traversing sideways. I told you before. These 7 methods are provided. Siblings method will allow you to return the siblings of the selected element. Next will allow returning the next sibling. nextAll will return all the next siblings. nextUntil will return all the next siblings between two elements. And the opposite of 2, 3 and 4 elements are 5, 6 and 7. That means previous siblings using the prev method. All the previous siblings of the selected element using the prevAll, and use the prevUntil to return all the previous siblings between two elements. Now we will understand them one by one. We will start with the siblings method. As the name suggests, the siblings method is used to return the siblings of the selected elements. So we will now work around the siblings method. Let's see. So here we have our VS Code. We have created the following folder for our examples. Let me add a new example for this project. Right click, new file. I'll name it index21.html. Okay. Now let me add a sample code from here. Right click, copy. Right click, paste. So I have used jQuery CDN and I'll add the jQuery code here. Before that, let me add the HTML stuff here. Okay, let's say we will add a sample div here, the parent. I'll give a class name, div class is equal to siblings. Within this, I'll mention a div. Let me also style this div. Style is equal to width 600 px, let's say. And you can consider this is our parent div. Let me add some elements here. So here I've added h1, then comes the p, then h2, and let me add an ordered list. Within that I'll mention li elements, and that's it. So OL is having two childs. Div is having the following elements: h1, p, h2 and OL. Now comes the styling part. We will also style our div here, siblings. For that, before the head tag will close, mention the style method. Okay, now let us style it. Dot siblings I'll also mention the star, the universal selector. Display block, so the elements, all elements are visible as block elements. Border, color, blue, let's say. Border, I'll mention green. Font size 20 px, let's say. Padding 10 px and margin 10 px. That's it. Now guys comes the jQuery part. Now what we want to find the siblings of the, I'll fix this, siblings of the p element here. Okay, so just mention $p dot, we will use the siblings method, and within this we will use the CSS method to style, so the result will be visible according to this style. That means the siblings of the p element will be visible with color blue, font size 24 px, border solid and in red color. Okay, close it, add a semicolon. That's it. Now the siblings of p will be visible like this. Now let me mention OL here. File, save all, right click, open in default browser. Okay, now you can see the siblings of p are visible, h1, h2 and OL. So guys, we found out the siblings using the siblings method. Now the next example, using the next method, we will find the next sibling of the selected element. We will see the same example and find the next sibling of the p element. Okay, let me create a new file. Right click, new file, index22.html. Okay, take the same code, copy, right click, paste. Now we need to find the next sibling of the selected element. So I'll just mention next here. We want it for p, so rest keep as it is. Okay. Now the next sibling of p will be visible with the following styles. File, save all, right click, open in default browser, index22.html. So the next sibling of p was h2, therefore the border you can see it's solid red. That means the next sibling of the p element is visible with the following styles. You can see the solid red border. That means the following h2. Okay. We found out this using the next method. So guys, in the next example, we will use the nextAll method to find all the next siblings of the selected element. We will see the same example and find all the next siblings of the p element. Let us see the example. Create a new file, right click, new file, index23.html. Take the same code, right click, copy, right click, paste. Okay, now find all the next siblings of the selected element. That means for p, just mention nextAll. That's it. file, save all. Now what will happen? For P, all the next siblings are H2 and OL. So the same will be visible. Right click, open in default browser. You can check on your own. H2 and OL, the borders are solid red and 4px. That means we have selected all the next siblings of the P element. Here it is, all the next siblings of the P element, H2 and OL. Now we will use the nextUntil method to return all the next siblings between two elements. So for our example, we will find all the next siblings between H1 and OL. So let's see the example. Let us create a new file. Right click, new file, index24.html. Let me copy the same code. Right click, copy, right click, paste. Here firstly what I'll do, I need to find the next siblings between H1 and OL. First I'll mention H1, then nextUntil, and after that under the parameter mention OL, because we need to find all the next siblings between H1 and OL. That means between H1 and OL. So the output should be P and H2. That means P and H2 will be styled like this. Save it. Okay, right click, open in default browser, index24.html. I told you between H1 and OL we have P and H2 as our siblings. That's why the same styles are visible, solid 4px and red in color. Now let us see the next example. Now guys, we will use the prev method to get the previous sibling of the selected element. For the next we use the next element. Similarly, for the previous sibling, use the prev method. In this example, let us find the previous sibling of the P element. Let me create a new file. Right click, new file, index25.html. Let me take the next code from here. That was the following, index22. Right click, copy, and here it is, right click, paste. In this what we did, we found out the next sibling. Okay, now we want the previous sibling of the P element. So just mention prev here and rest keep as it is. All the previous siblings will be visible with the following styles. Okay, so the previous sibling of P was H1. Okay, so file, save all, right click, open in default browser. Here it is, the previous sibling of P was H1, therefore it is highlighted like this with the solid red 4px border, because we have set it here, the CSS style for the previous sibling of the P element. Now let us see the next example. In the next example, we will return all the previous siblings of the selected element using the prevAll method. Now in this example, we will find all the previous siblings of the H2 element. Let's see the example. Let me create a new file. Right click, new file, index26.html. So let me take this code, right click, copy, right click, paste. you need to return all the previous siblings of the selected element. So in this case our selected element is h2 and here prevAll. All the previous siblings of h2 are h1 and p, and the same output should be visible with the following styles, especially the border to recognize. File, save all, right click and open index 26 in default browser. Here it is. I told you that the previous siblings of h2 was p and h1 and the same are visible with the styles. That means we did it correctly. We found the previous siblings correctly using the prevAll method. Let us see the next example. In the next example, what we will do, we will return all the previous siblings between two elements. Okay, so we will use the prevUntil method for it. Let us see the example and find all the previous siblings between h1 and ol. Let me create a new file. Right click, new file, index27.html. Take the code from here, right click, copy, right click, paste. Okay, what we need to find? We need to find the previous siblings between two elements. That means, let's say I'll set ol here. Between ol and h1 we will find the previous siblings ol, then mention prevUntil method, and the parameter of the prevUntil should be your second element. That means h1 here. Rest keep as it is. And now between ol and h1 all the siblings will be visible. That means p and h2 should be styled as the following. Let's see. File, save all, right click, open in default browser. Here it is. Between ol and h1 the siblings are visible. That means p and h2 are styled like this, solid, border red and 4px, because we used the prevUntil method. So guys, we saw how to work with the following methods for traversing. We worked on these 7 methods and saw some examples to find the siblings, the previous and next siblings. Thank you for watching the video.